But I do want to know from the Steelers faithful, do they think that Mike Tomlin will have got fired if that field goal goes in? And looking at the landscape of now, John Harbaugh is the most sought after coach and the Ravens is the most sought after job. I think Mike Tomlin would not have got fired because it's interesting to see that I didn't think that Harbaugh would get fired, but he did. So it's like, it let me know that these front offices be listening to the media. Because that was interesting to see that even with Lamar being out for like 5 or 6 weeks and the Ravens having an up and down year, them missing a field goal from 30 yards got a coach that was spent. Because you can't convince me that, let's say the field goal goes in and the Ravens go to the playoffs and they lose in the playoffs, that was Harbaugh still getting fired if they made the playoff? I don't think so. He had more than that calling him. There were teams with head coaches. You know what I'm saying? He got 7 calls and only 6 vacancies was available at the time. So it already was one team that had a head coach that had reached out to him. They're saying that it was Miami. Because, McDaniel hadn't already met with the GM about him being retained while that was going on. I think Harbaugh got fired because the relationship with Lamar is not good, allegedly, according to the rumors. But see, it's like Lamar didn't even play half the season this year. And if you're saying you do that, if they go out and get another defensive-minded coach, it's not going to make sense. Like, to me, Cliff Kingsbury seemed like the guy that would be going to Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy who just had a crazy season with Jaden Daniels, like Lamar is Jaden Daniels on steroids. So I don't know. Like that's gonna be interesting to see how this all shake out. Brian Daboll to the Titans as an offensive coordinator, not as a head coach. I really want one of the young coaches with 2 veteran coordinators on his flanks. Personally, just because, like, if you look at Tomlin and Harbaugh, when they started, like, they're in their early 60s now, which meant that they was in their early 40s when they got the job. You want a 10-20 year run like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to get somebody that's at the end of his fire. Like the Raiders with Pete Carroll. Like, Pete Carroll's a Hall of Fame coach, but he just got fired and they were bad. And the Seahawks got good once he left. So it's like, maybe it's time for Pete to go on the ESPN or the NFL Network desk and chew his gum and talk with a suit on. Doug Peterson, coordinator. Like, give me 2 former head coaches as OC and DC, and give me Shula or Kubiak or somebody like that as my head coach. Yo, Chaz, what's good? What you got going on? My stream we did an hour, and right at an hour, like, I don't know if it's the weather or whatever, like, Facebook kicked and YouTube kicked and I was like, all right, let me just reset, and I just had to edit it for the shop talk tomorrow. They said John or Tomlin will be the biggest coaches hires of the offseason. It really will be. Because, like John Harbaugh gonna have his pick. Like, if he go to the Browns, that mean he petty and he wants some get back. If he choose to go to, I could see John Harbaugh in Atlanta though. Honestly, like, I could see him in New York. I could see him in Tennessee with Denard Wilson as his defensive coordinator. And Bones
Let me teach you how to vibe.
Because it's gonna be some coaches that get to the interview and that team would not be able to get them the coordinators they want, or the coordinators they want might not be able to come. So like a lot of these interviews is gonna be like, yeah, you said you want this guy, and this guy, but you can't get this guy. So who is your second choice? Then it's gonna be somebody that's like, yo, I want this, and this. All right, cool, we can make that shake. Like it's gonna be some that ain't gonna be able to get it done. Content day off, just checking in. Hey, I appreciate you checking in. What you planning? What you got up your sleeve, Corey D? Rex Ryan deserves a job. I would have love for Pitt to get him as a DC. Somebody should hire him. I personally don't like Rex Ryan. He was the last coach to have the Jets doing something, but I personally not a fan of Rex Ryan. I think Harbaugh going to Miami is a dumpster fire though. Like they got Tua with that big contract that you can't move, and medically they got it messed up. Tyreek Hill, does he even want to play football anymore? Like, just look at the exodus. I said this before the stream crash. Like, look at the exodus of players in Miami. Raheem Mostert, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland, Christian Wilkins, Jerome Baker. Like, but they had an exodus of so many players that they still are in a cap nightmare. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could pick another team and have way more at his disposal. He could pick the Raiders and get the number 1 pick and convince Max Crosby to stay. He could come to the Titans and have a blank slate and 10 picks in the draft, and Denard Wilson he already worked with is still there because the Titans haven't fired any of the assistants yet. He can go to Atlanta. They can figure out the situation between Penix and Kirk Cousins. He could go to New York. You got another first round quarterback and a lot of pieces on defense to play. I don't know. It just, what does John Harbaugh want to do? If Dan Campbell got fired from the Lions tomorrow, would you want him as a head coach? I like Dan Campbell's passion and fire, but mighty spicy. Ben Johnson went to the Bears in 1 year, won the division. Aaron Glenn had a bad year in the Jets, but it's the Jets. It's to be expected. So, like, Dan Campbell got to prove that he can put them coordinators back in there and get back to the playoffs. Reporter says he's not making any decisions until next week to meet any teams. He might just sit out for a year, and that's something that people haven't considered. I consider that. Like, what if he want to chill for a year and spend some time with family? It's been a 20-year run. The emotions of your season ending on a field goal might be a lot for him. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good observation, Trey. Thoughts on Atlanta blocking Dallas from interviewing their DC? They're on full with Dallas. She say back and better. I think it's all smoke and mirrors hiring Nagy. I think it's better options than Nagy out there though.
Let me teach you how to vibe.
What if they bring Nagy in to run the offense and let him call plays because he can't call plays? And see, this is the thing that goes against Nagy is he ain't calling plays. Andy Reid calling plays. So that's like similar to Brian Callahan was under Zach Taylor but not calling plays. Like he might want to go be an OC somewhere just to call plays. Could be that because that's him and Josh McDaniels. That's their path back to being a head coach. I want one of the young coaches, bro. I just do. Put all the coaches in the hat and put your name next to it at this point. Yeah, that's why I said this morning when I shared it out, I said, just redraft, man. Every coach getting fired, just redraft the coaches. Yeah, I'm watching the game too now. It was good. Tony Dungy come back and coach? Nah. We not bringing Tony Dungy, Rex Ryan, John Gruden. Even though they did go scrap up Jason Garrett, I think they just scrapped Jason Garrett as a homeboy thing for them to eat some hot chicken and talk about what he would do with the team. What's good now? I think it's more of a brain scratching thing. If they hired Jason Garrett as a head coach in Nashville, I think the whole fan base would faint. That's the thing with some of these interviews. Even when they get hired as a head coach, they can set themselves up. Yeah, and I think that's what it is like the people like, man, Titans interview, like, because the reality is everybody not. That's why I was saying, like, with so many jobs open and so many people interviewing, and some of the coaches still being in the playoffs, like, you might say this is your 3 people for your staff, but Bergonzi, like, he can't get this guy. I know he can't get that one. Okay, this one is gonna be available, but not this one. I could put these 2 guys with this guy. This guy said he worked with this guy. You know what I'm saying? It could be a situation like that. And Becker, I think that's the sauce. I think that these teams is doing due diligence. Then too, you gotta think the Titans have been sitting back for 12 weeks knowing that they're hiring a coach. 12 weeks is like, that's 3 months in the NFL. That's like a whole world. When the Titan staff is so big, from Burke Nihill to Chad Brinker to Mike Bergonzi, Reggie McKenzie, like, they have so many people on the staff that, they've been pretty much researching who they're going to coach. And like, now it's just the time to see what everybody's plan is and assemble the best staff as possible. 8 interview requests with 4 scheduled. Yeah. And then, like, the fact that Harbaugh got fired late and McDaniel got fired late, it just spins the carousel even harder, because some teams that might feel like they had a good idea, Harbaugh pops up. You know what I'm saying? Like, some teams might thought they had a good idea of what's about to happen, and then, Miami comes open and the coach that you wanted wants to go to Miami. It's just because for each of the 7 jobs, it's a head coach, defensive coordinator, and offensive coordinator, and special teams coach. So it's like 4 people are coming off the board, depending upon relationships and who gets hired where. When you think about 4 people coming off the board at one time, like, that's not a little bit. That's a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, four people coming off the board at one time is like kind of like the NFL draft. Like, imagine somebody picked somebody and 4 players came off the board every time somebody picked. Man, salute. That's love. I appreciate some of y'all that's following me on all the social media platforms. I try to engage with it all. And specifically, we trying to grow on YouTube. We getting close to the watch hours, and that was my game plan, was to try to get close to watch hours on YouTube without having to, like, strictly just grind game streams and stuff over there. I wanted to do it naturally, that people was actually watching the content and actually enjoying it and actually clicking on. 8 o'clock in the morning, the shop talks, I always chop them up. So all the fluff that we do, I just chop it with straight conversation. And if there's any questions that y'all have, feel free to throw questions in the comments, and I'll make whole videos of it, or I'll make that a portion of the shop talk that I try to address all y'all questions. I'm here for the engagement, not to just sound like a talking head. Nobody likes a content creator that thinks they know it all, even though I do be undefeated, and all that. But I'm saying nobody likes the content creator or the journalist or whoever that is the know-it-all, seem like they just above every. You can never be smarter than your audience. You can be more informed, but you can never try to sound like you smarter than your audience. Then there's the detachment. 2 times in the building, Statman in the building. But let's get into today's topic.
Let me teach you how to
Shop Talk.
vibe.
Not only was there already openings in Nashville, in Las Vegas, in Cleveland, in New Yiddy. Not only was there openings in Arizona, and then Baltimore, now Miami, who said that they were going to have meetings and meet with Mike McDaniel about whether he was going to stay or whether he was going to go. Now, there's a lot of firepower coaching wise when you talk about Cliff Kingsbury, Mike McDaniel, Kubiak, McCarthy. It's some offensive names out there that, can get it done. Then on the defensive side, the Brian Flores, Robert Salas, the mentors, you got Shula. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because I never thought that the Tennessee Titans was the first choice for a coach, because now a coach that was gonna go to one of these jobs and rebuild can just say, I can just go coach Lamar, and for some of the teams, Miami and Atlanta would be good openings. I just think some of these teams are in cap hell where they don't have draft picks and they don't have money. And, the Dolphins still have Tua under a big contract. Tyreek Hill is still under a big contract. And they already had a mass exodus of players from Christian Wilkins to Raheem Mostert, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland, Jerome Baker. Like in the last 2 years, they have just been having an exodus of talent in Miami. And at one point, I think they were shopping to see what they could get for Jalen Waddle. And then they decided, no, that Jalen Waddle's going to be a building block of what they want to do. And, that's the navigation, the questions to say, if I'm the Tennessee Titans, I told y'all in the beginning, I would have been trying to get Kubiak. I would have been trying to get Shoot. I would just go get a new name. Don't be scared because Callahan dropped the ball and Rand dropped the ball with his coaching staff. What they need to do now is go get 2 former head coaches that don't get the jobs they want and bring them in as DC with one of the young guys. When you think about Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, 20-year tenured coaches, careers and jobs on the hot seat, contingent upon a field goal and an extra point was the difference between letting a 20-year head coach that's won a Super Bowl. And, Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. John Harbaugh, and we know what he's done. And you just have to think, how old was John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin when they first took their jobs? So if, these guys are in their early 60s and they've been coaching for 20 years and had legendary careers. You think about Pete Carroll in his 70s. Go back to 20 years that they have been elite coaches in the NFL and say, let me find somebody in that young age that was when they started. So, these guys was in their early 40s. The game is getting younger, late 30s, early 40s. Shoot for a younger coach and bring in some established head coaches that can't make the jump from getting fired to getting a head coaching job, or ones that have their eyes on being a head coach again, being a retread, but know maybe they're an offensive coach that need to call plays, or maybe they're a defensive coach that's got to show that they can come in and get more production out of these rosters. So that was my thought, and I like Kubiak because Kubiak fundamentally runs the football. If Mike McDaniel was to be the offensive coordinator in Nashville for the next 2 years, I would not mind it. I mean, Devin Achane, however you say his name, and Ollie Gordon, Miami Dolphins use a lot of motion and get the ball to their backs, and they're skill position players. And, any type of offensive output, I feel like would be a benefit for Cam Ward, having somebody that was a former head coach, helping him groom himself into the quarterback of the future for the Tennessee Titans. All right, now let's get into the chat. I had a feeling Miami was a team that contacted Harbaugh. At the time, it was 6 openings and 7 teams contacted his agent. So there's a team out that made the call, but still had a coach. That's true. That's one to think about. I mean, but also it was some of these teams got rid of their GMs and their coaches. So the new GM might have not had time to get in it'd have a meeting with the head coach, and it could have been, hey, what do y'all already have set? Let me put some feelers out to some coaches and set up some interviews behind the scenes, and then by the time we meet, it'll hit the fan. You know, it's like maybe a 24-hour window left or right. I mean, they're not wrong to. I mean, it's kind of like you ain't in a committed relationship with somebody. Y'all kind of on the outs, and you taking phone calls, you responding to text messages. You feel me, KT? I'm too nervous watching the Miami Hurricanes play right now. You need a cigarette. D Brown say, yo, talk to me, bear down. Yeah, Kevin Byard, Tennessee Titan legend, lead the league in interceptions. Another blunder from Rand Carthon, telling Kevin Byard he needs to take a pay cut. Sent it to the Eagles and got Terrell Edmonds and 2 picks. One of them was Jaquan Jackson. The other one was Jarvis Brownlee Jr. And they just traded him from a 5th to a 6th. So whatever they pick with that 6th round pick will be in effect what we got back for Kevin Byard, as we haven't truly replaced Kevin Byard. Elijah Molden would have been the better fit to keep when they got rid of him, but he went to the Chargers, and I think Kevin Winston Jr. will be the free safety of the future. Xavier Woods has played solid for us, but in between that time, it's been a carousel, but nobody to the level of Kevin Byard, because Roger McCreary was the only cornerback that had an interception for us this year. He's no longer on the roster. He's on the Rams. And Xavier Woods was the only DB that had picks outside of that. So, but nothing like league leading interceptions. Bloody was good. Miami or Ole Miss, I could care less. Alabama's out. I just want to see some good football. I want to see it come down to the last second. I want to see somebody cry. Appreciate all the reactions. D Brown, Bloody, William D. Sean, Alonzo, 2-time with the share bomb, Adam L. Suave. Tighten up, Stevie B. Teams don't have a quarterback like Cam Ward to build around. They don't, but the Giants do. The Ravens already have a QB. The Raiders have the first pick. So if it's a coach that doesn't like Cam Ward, will get his pick to choose if he wants Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, or Dante Moore, or if he wants to go the veteran route. The Cardinals still have Kyler Murray, depending on the coach that comes in, whether they want to keep Kyler Murray or pay him an extra $18 million in March. So it's not just a quarterback to build around. Those other teams have different things. If you're taking over Atlanta, you have your choice between, do you want to ride with Michael Penix or do you want to go with Kirk Cousins? You have 2 options in that route. So even if you Miami, if you take over Miami, do you think you could fix Tua? If you don't, you already drafted Quinn Ewers. I mean, there's the thing, some of these teams, the Cleveland Browns have 2 first-round picks and Shedeur Sanders. All these teams got their pros and cons. If you take the Ravens and you take Lamar, a lot of pressure for you to get to the playoffs and win games in the playoff next year. Do you see McDaniel as a head coach? No, he's going to be somebody's offensive coordinator. Exclusive, what up? Arthur Smith reacts to Titans head coaching interest. What do I think about Ty Simpson's decision? I think he made a smart decision. You're going to be fighting for your job in Alabama next year. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but with the new NIL, when Keelan Russell decides to come back, you're going to have a fight on your hands, or you're going to have to hit the portal. If you Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza is probably the top pick at QB. But if Dante Moore goes back to college, then if you Ty Simpson, with all the teams that need a quarterback, you'll more than likely get picked in the first round. You won't get done like Shedeur Sanders. It'd be tossed to the 5th round. behind Dylan Gabriel in the third. You'll get picked in the first or second round if Ty Simpson come out. So like even at worst, if Dante Moore come out and the team don't believe in him, he still at worst would be like Tyler Shuck getting drafted in the second and getting the opportunity to compete for a job. Or he'll go somewhere that's already good that'll pick him to groom him, like the Rams or somewhere like that already got a QB. Because the Rams do have 2 first-round picks. They got Atlanta's pick and their own. Bama went down there to kick 3 points. Yeah, that was... But Bama's problem was Bama couldn't run the football all year. And when Bama can't run the football and teams can sit back with 2 high safeties and just blitz the whole game and play coverage, it's like playing Madden against somebody and you just know they can't dot you up and they can't handle the blitz. Because even if you got, even if you got Caden Proctor, who's going to be probably a first round pick at left tackle, and Brailsford, who's probably going to be an NFL center in the top 100, and Roberts, if he comes out and is healthy, will be, drafted in the NFL. You have 3 NFL linemen, but if you can't run the football, and the Alabama has shuffled 4 or 5 different running backs all year. Nobody could stay healthy and nobody could continue to be effective. So you've seen it in the Oklahoma game. You've seen it in the Indiana game. You've seen it in the Georgia game, the SEC championship. Bama couldn't run the football this year, and it made them one-dimensional.
Let me teach you how to vibe.
A one-dimensional team is not hard to beat. This game finna be fire. He said, can I ask you a question? You ever thought about your life would be like if you're a high-ranking gang-banging boss, like your own crew and everything? Why in the hell would I think about being a gang member? That would be the biggest waste of my life possible. I am a high-ranking gang member in my own family. So I don't have to worry about the crew. I got 2 daughters, a wife, and a big family, so I don't necessarily need to worry about a gang. That is my gang. Because guess what? If you're in a gang and you go to jail and you call the rest of your members, they're either gonna rat or leave you in there. You call your family will come to your defense. And dumbest question of the day goes to... Take him. Unc ain't got time for no gang shit. Y'all see what all the gang members is doing to each other online? They already getting RICO charges. All right. Smash them shares and red. Jim Leonard gonna be good, underrated, higher. Yeah, 2 times a gang. I mean, exclusive. That lets you know that, like, I got thick skin. I'm a professional with it. I can professionally answer a dumbass question about gangs. 42 years old. The hell would I care about a damn gang? I think gangs is some of the stupidest shit that ever was existed. That Amy and coaches don't get along. Actually, she do. See, that's the misconception. Like, Amy had Malarkey and then switched Malarkey for Vrabel, which got us to AFC championship game, 3 division titles, #1 seed in the AFC. Like, all that came off of Amy. Now, Amy and Vrabel's relationship fell out because John Robinson, Todd Downing getting a DUI, and them not getting along. Vrabel wanting more power in the organization and her listening to the wrong people. It's like, but I think because she did what she did this time, let it be known, like, everybody was dogging Amy out, but getting rid of Callahan was absolutely the right decision. And then after getting rid of Callahan, made Chad Brinker and Bergonzi come out and be transparent, and then made Burke Nihill go deal with the stadium with Roger Goodell when he came to Nashville, and they was promising us the Super Bowl. Then when you say Chad Brinker is going to handle this and it's going to be Mike Bergonzi leading the coaching search, and you're going to tie Bergonzi to the coach, and you still got Reggie McKenzie and those guys, former GMs that's working up under him, helping him scout. Like, with the draft that they had this year and allowing Bergonzi to pick his coach, I think that Amy is showing that she willing to do what it takes. You know, it's everybody can't say their owner ain't putting a new stadium out and hiring a huge behemoth of a team to try and fix the team and get things right. I mean, look at your team, the Giants, on record saying how bad they blundered the Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones situation. You know what I'm saying? Daboll getting fired over the blue tent catastrophe of having y'all rookie quarterback have concussion protocol so many times last year. Look at the Browns. Who wanted Shador? Who didn't want Shador? Who picked him? Who didn't pick him? Who wanted him? Who didn't want him? You got him in Chicago backed up on the 1 yard line. His opening snap in Chicago in 10-degree weather, and the coaching staff gave him the wrong wristband. It's a whole lot of organizations that got way more problems than us. I mean, the Dolphins are in cap hell. Tyreek Hill done had his 50th baby, and you don't know if he wants to play football anymore. Bad medical malpractice got Tua as a walking concussion, and he's due $1 gazillion. The Cardinals, with Gannon punching a player this year, getting fired, and you got a clause on your starting $50 million quarterback that say he can't play Call of Duty too much. There's a lot of things that got way more things that they need to deal with than the Tennessee Titans. Don't get me started on the Raiders and the fact that the Raiders are gonna have Geno Smith getting $38 million next year guaranteed, and Pete Carroll out and Chip Kelly out. Where are you going with the Raiders if Max Crosby decide that he don't want to play in Las Vegas next year? Every team that is vying for a coaching job, I say Baltimore is the best fit for somebody that want to plug and play. And then next, I would probably say behind that would be like the Giants. Like Atlanta, you take Atlanta, you got Michael Penix with injury history, a first round pick.